So in this video, I'm going to show you how to change the appearance of a Qualtrics survey instrument. So to start off, you'll see based on my screen here that I'm into one of the survey projects, is what Qualtrics calls them, but this would be a survey instrument that you're going to use to go collect data. And to start off, I'll show you what I mean by the appearance of the survey instrument. So one thing that's nice about Qualtrics is when you're building a survey for data collection or an instrument for data collection, you can click the preview button right here and it's going to take you to a window like this one right here, or a tab like this one right here, and it's going to show you what that is actually going to look like to a respondent. And so in the main screen here, what we see is how questions are going to appear to your respondents, the text of the question, and then the item choices here. You'll also see what this instrument is going to look like if someone accesses it or tries to respond on a mobile device, because Qualtrics changes the appearance ever so slightly so that it's a little bit more mobile friendly. And so this view right here lets you look, see how it's going to look both on a desktop version and on a mobile version. So that's what I mean by changing the appearance. You'll notice here that by default, there's no color, there's no logos or anything like that. And so I'm going to show you how to add that kind of stuff in. So going back over to our instrument or project, before we go and change the appearance, one thing to consider is whether you're going to be using some sort of an image or a logo or anything like that. Because in order to include that, you're going to have to upload that image to your graphics library. And to access your graphics library, you would just need to click this button right here. But you'll see here that I have it just loaded into another tab because that saves me time from having to load things. And then you'll notice that there are several tabs up here. So there's Survey Library, which is where you can keep a range of surveys. Graphics Library, where you store images. Files Library, where you can upload any other kind of file that you want. PDFs, Word documents, anything that you want can be put into your Files Library. And then Messages would be if you use a certain kind of language repeatedly when you're reaching out to respondents or something like that, it might be more efficient for your workflow to just go into the library, your Messages library, and add something there. That's all going to be for different videos because today I'm going to focus just on the graphics library. And what you can see are a couple of images that I had already uploaded for various things that I was doing. And you can organize all of these images into different folders, just like you can anything else. So what you'll need to do is upload your graphics here. So you'll go into whatever folder is relevant, and then you'll just click this Upload Graphic button. And then you can drag and drop something from your desktop or a folder or wherever you might have the logo it is that you want to use and put it there. Or you can click this button right here and it will come up with a dialog box that will let you navigate to wherever the file is stored on your computer. Or there's another option here where you can enter a web address and just add a file that way. So that is how we upload an image into your graphics library so that you can get to it later. I'm not actually going to do that right now. But to go back to our survey project, so let's say that we want to change the color, we want to put a banner, maybe we want to put a logo, something like that. All of those options are going to be over here in the Look and Feel tab. So what we'll do is we'll click this, and then it's going to open this sub window here, and it's going to let us choose from a lot of different things. So we might want to choose from a theme, for instance, and there are all of these themes that Qualtrics kind of just offers for you to start from or tweak or anything like that. Or you can do some custom things to make it however it is that you want it to look. And so for that, you can go through these tabs right here and select a bunch of different options. So for layout here, this would be what the respondent sees when they're interacting with the survey. So you can see here, radial buttons, no highlight, radial buttons on the other side. And here the banner and the check mark popping up. So these are just different ways that you can change the look and feel. Next here are a bunch of options for different features of how Qualtrics appears. So there's what do you want the next button to look like. You can add in your own custom graphics here if you want. you can include an option here for a progress bar. And so you may have seen these. It'll just show something at the bottom of the screen saying that the respondent is 60% of the way done, 90% of the way done, whatever it happens to be. And then you can, if you have a progress bar, you can change where that is. Here you can say questions per page. So this would just be how many questions would it load on a single page. And then if you set it to 4, for instance, and then once you get past 4 questions on your instrument, it will just create automatically, put the 5th question onto a new page. Okay. Header. This would be if you have an image in your graphics library and you want to use that as the banner sort of at the top of your instrument. You would click this drop-down menu and navigate to it that way. Same thing with the footer. So for style, this gives you the option to change the colors and the appearance that Qualtrics uses to display. So for primary color, this all uses hex codes, which is just a set of color codes. If you want, you can just click the color here and you can drag this around if you want. You can drag the slider over here to change colors, anything like that. Most of the time, if you're going to be using hex codes, then probably what you are doing is you're working from a branding guideline for whatever institution you're working on behalf of, because they'll typically have some sort of a style guide that will say, this hex code is our primary color, this hex code is our secondary color, and whatnot. So you're probably best off to consult those resources. And this will let you pick, different colors if you want, and you can see what happens over here on the display. So I've made this a really bright green here. So now the button is a really bright green. Up here, I can change that, and then when you select an option, it's going to turn this darker green here. So that's how those two colors work. Over here, you can add, there are just more options for how large the text is, what kind of spacing there is, anything like that. Motion would be if you want to have some sort of animation between pages of your survey instrument or anything like that. Most of these options you probably won't mess with, but they're there. So for a logo, so this would be if you want to use some sort of an image, like I said, logo, so something that represents the organization that you're working for or anything like that, this would be where you can put the logo. And so if you want to include a logo, you can go to your graphics library and select whatever logo image, or sorry, whatever image it is that you want to use as a logo. And then, well, sure, I'll pick this one. And then you'll see that it places that image up here at the top. If you're using a logo, something to really be conscious about is intellectual property. And so some institutions are very careful, understandably, about their brand and brand identity. And so it's important to only use images and logos with permission or under fair use. And so that means typically consulting the style guide that I mentioned before, that will have a style guide for organizations. Will typically have, in addition to colors, and we'll also have like suggested fonts that are consistent with that institution's branding. It will also have information about how logos can be used and in what context, because different colors might be approved for certain uses, say on the web versus in print and anything like that. So it's recommended that you consult those kinds of resources before using a logo and making sure that you are using it fairly or with appropriate permission, anything like that. And these options here, so banner means that it put the image up here at the top along with the primary color that we selected. If you have it floating, that just means that the image alone is going to be up here at the top. And then you can change where it appears, whether it's in the top left, top center, top right, anything like that. And then lastly, the background. So you can change, in theory, if you wanted to include an image as the background for questions. You're probably not going to do that, but this is how you would do that, as long as the image that you're using is in your graphics library. Most of the time you're going to want a color, but if you wanted to change the background to be red, you can see this is how you would do that. And so everything that's outside of the area where the questions are rendered, the options are rendered, is going to be whatever color you choose. Would not recommend going with the color scheme that I have here, but for illustration purposes, this is fine. And then here are options where you can change how much contrast there is, and you could even toggle off they call it the questions container, which just means the border that goes around your items and text and everything that's part of the instrument itself. And if you mess around with all of this and you start to realize that you've gotten pretty far afield from what you had intended on doing initially, what you can do is just click Restore Defaults. It's going to give you an option of, are you sure, do you want to do that? And then you click Restore, and now you're back to all of the default or standard options for how your survey instrument is going to appear. Then once you've made whatever changes you want, you just click Save down here. And then any changes that you save would be applied to your instrument. You're not going to see it on this screen right here because it's always going to look like this for when you're editing your survey instrument. But if you went to preview, then you would see changes there. And so that is how you access the options for the look and feel of a survey instrument through Qualtrics, and how you navigate through those options and change it so that you have the appearance that you want.